Welcome to Parev TV. We are really excited to have a very special interview with a very special guest. He comes to us from Lebanon, and he is the president of the Haidostian University. Haidostian University is the only university, Armenian university in the diaspora. And obviously it has its challenges and very, very special challenges in Lebanon. The university was founded in 1955. And it has been serving the Lebanese community, Armenian community, non-Armenian community today. We have followed the developments in Lebanon over the past, especially 2 years. I won't go back into the civil war in Lebanon, but over the past 2-3 years, following the blast of August the 4th, 2020, the economic, financial, political crisis we all know of. Here we have a man who is now in the United States trying to give us an idea of what is the struggle, what are the challenges he's faced with as he navigates through a very special times for the university. So we believe this interview will enlighten us, will inform us, will make us stronger, well-informed Armenians, and we're really privileged to have the Reverend Dr. Paul Haidostian, who has been the president of the university for the past 20 years, since 2002. He is a Princeton University graduate with a PhD in theology. He is very, very active in the Lebanese community, very, very connected with the Lebanese society, and we are extremely proud of the work he has done. And now, what we'd like to do, following a few days in New Jersey also, where he appeared at the Presbyterian Armenian Church in Parev, New Jersey, he has a message for us, and we are glad that we are able to bring his message alive by seeing him, by hearing him in our midst. One thing for sure, the Reverend Dr. Paul Haidostian believes in education, and whenever we come together and we try to solve the problems of our individual families, institutions, the countries we live in, and the world, education plays a major, major role. And education to an institution, to a person, is as important as blood is to the body. So it's a very important mission he has, and we encourage people to even spread the word after you hear this video, because this lecture was also streamed live only yesterday from the Presbyterian Armenian Church. So we can also watch the entire presentation on archived video clips. Before I wrap up and introduce you and have us hear Reverend Dr. Paul Haidostian, let me thank one person without whose help this interview would not have been realized. And I'd like to thank Mr. Serge Buchakchian, the young and elder of the Presbyterian Armenian Church. Welcome to Parev TV. It is truly a great honor to be joined by Reverend Dr. Paul Haidostian, who is the president of the Haidostian University. And whenever we mention Haidostian University, we're very quick of mentioning that it is the only Armenian university in the diaspora. What a great honor. It was founded in 1955, and for the past 20 years, Dr. Haidostian was the president of this institution. He is now visiting the United States. Would like to know what brings him to the United States. We'd like to know more about the university, the challenges he faces. We'd also like to have an idea of what is life in Lebanon. And we would like to start with getting to know the person, much more than the institution. We are very, very interested in the person, Dr. Haidostian. Let me ask you my first question, and that is your organizational administrative abilities, along with your faith, has been recognized by so many of us. You're a very proud president of Haidostian University. A few days ago at the Armenian Presbyterian Church in Parev, New Jersey, we heard your presentation. You projected your thoughts so beautifully and inspired all of us who attended the presentation. My question is, if you can help us connect the dots in your past that you believe led you to this very noble and responsible position. What was it in your experience that you think helped you get to this position and helped you be so effective in this position?
First, thank you so much for this renewed opportunity. It's great to be connected together through this medium. So what has brought me here? Of course, theologically, spiritually, the grace of God. In terms of background and context, I would easily and immediately see my heritage as the key to where I am today. Mm-hmm. I have been nurtured in an Armenian evangelical atmosphere, which focused on what our parents and grandparents did in Beirut, in Aleppo, in Marash, Cilicia. And I am the proud descendant of Marashzi grandparents, and one of whom was Ovannes Hoja Haidostian, who was one of the leaders of the German orphanage in Marash called Bet Shalom. He was a teacher, an educator, a devoted Christian, who then moved to Aleppo after the massacres in Marash, and founded the Betel Armenian Evangelical School there. And then most of his children, 8 children, went into the service. We grew up knowing that there was so much to be proud of in our heritage, all the way from Marash to the rest of the cities and to Beirut, but also that we were to give to the others what we had received. So they were mostly preachers, educators, school principals, professionals in various fields, including the medical field, uncles, aunts, and so on maternal and paternal side. And I can see how directly I have been impacted by their stories. So that's the deepest root I would see. And then there are many more nuances, obviously, as to who I am and who I believe I should be and what I should do. So that's for an introduction.
You know, one thing you failed to mention is that when you were growing up, when you were a teenager, Lebanon was in a civil war. And I can just imagine all the sufferings, the crises, the problems you experienced as a child, which really strengthened you. Really, in terms of adversary, you came back with full force and you tried to do the good that you believe in. You believe very, very strongly in education. In fact, if I may just quote some of the things you have said, you said, if you want to change the world, begin with education. And also another thing you said, which was really impressive, our story as Armenians, as a people, is not a story of pain. Could you elaborate?
So let me go back to the Civil War of Lebanon that started in 1975. I was 13 and we were in the city of Tripoli, north of Lebanon, where my father and mother were servants in the church. He was pastor and school principal. My mother was a devoted Yeretskin and a teacher in the school and organist in the church. The Civil War started, and as you noted, we did witness so much suffering. The city of Tripoli was besieged, and we were among the minority Christians who stayed in the city in very difficult conditions. And I've written some articles about this. In my daily life, I would see right before my eyes killings and kidnappings and other challenges, devastating issues, shortage of electrical power and water and so on and so forth. So the whole package. Now, what was the factor that did not lead me to despair and to say, well, I don't want to be staying here. I don't want to be part of this and so on. Honestly and very clearly, it was the personal life story and witness and wholehearted service of my parents. My father, for a number of months, couldn't get a salary because he would get his salary from Beirut and we couldn't move. We faced many difficulties, and yet our parents, instead of complaining about their situation, were focusing on how they could provide relief, emotional relief and support and otherwise to the people around them. I never saw them complain. I never heard them say at home, why are we here? Why did we not leave here? Is this fair? And what's our future? And so on. Instead, they were fully focused on ministry and serving the people and encouraging the people and adding a smile to the people. You see, the main impact children have and the main influence is from the parents. I think eventually what led me to the Christian ministry is saying, who is this great God of grace who kept a smile on my parents' face in times of adversity? That's a key to my Christian commitment. At the same time, we also knew at home that educating the Armenian generations was for my father and his father, especially for the Marashti kids all around the Middle East, almost a sacred vision, a commitment. These were a very direct impact on me. I mean, I'm not romanticizing. Honestly, this is where I see where we're going. And I also saw how education was making a difference. Education for me is not institutions alone.
Bravo.
But it is the home, it is the friendship, it is youth groups, it is church, it is social impact and so on. However, we also need the institutional structure to maintain and to keep the values of education going. So we should balance the role of the education systems. Yeah, I say the world is changed through education because we need renewed minds, we need renewed hearts, we need renewed relationships, we need friendships, the building of trust, the bringing out of our potentials. Where do these happen? How do these happen? Through education.
You know, you mentioned your parents, your father, and you mentioned the fact that there was a problem with the salary. As you present the Haidostian University these days and remind us of the challenges, how you're navigating and welcoming and overcoming the challenges, salaries, you have the responsibility of the administrators of the school, the faculty, the students, the parents, the neighboring organizations. And on 2 days ago, you mentioned that I think the tuition was $9,500. And now, because of the devaluation of the currency and the economic crisis, you can barely collect $300. So obviously you have a major, major challenge, and you spoke so positively. Everything you said came out so positive. You did not give us a negative feeling of what you're going through. But tell us more about the challenges, the main challenge you see. And I know there are many in Lebanon these days.
True, absolutely. I do not want to exaggerate the challenges of the university, especially that I feel that institutions tend to feel less pain than families and individuals do. See, institutions are systems, are management. True, we may face financial difficulty, tremendous difficulty, but it doesn't get as emotional as it gets in the case of individuals and families. Focusing on Haidostian University, it is indeed, as you said, instead of collecting $3.5 million of tuition fees per year, as we used to do, this year we're probably collecting $180,000 only. And that's a tremendous challenge. However, in times of crises such as these, what one shouldn't say, why did this happen? This is too much, and so on. It is too much. It is too much pressure. One has to say, we have chosen to be responsible for institutions. No one forced me to take on this position, or my church, whatever commitments. As long as I'm on these positions, or all of us are, and I'm not alone, obviously, I'm myself the president, but I have all my colleagues and board members and so on. Our commitment should be to directly face the challenges and say the main sentence I have every day in my mind: fallen situation, collapse, bankruptcy, difficulties of all sorts, logistical and daily life, and so on. But my main motto would be, by the grace of God, what is it that I can do today? It's not what is not working. Now, if you noticed 3 days ago, in my presentation on Haidostian University, I didn't give ideals of Haidostian. I gave the concrete facts. In fact, this morning, I got a message from one of my colleagues in Beirut who had watched it online. And he said, it felt to the listener that you're talking about the projects of Haidostian, its publications, its conferences, its research, its outreach, its partnerships, its agreements, and so on. It felt like you're talking about a very balanced and normal country, whereas you're talking about a failed state. And then, I mean, of course, this colleague was happy that we are at Haidostian able to do so much. So the focus is not the problems. We have to face the problems. We have to try to ease the pain of the people, to keep the balance of the institution financially and otherwise. But the main question is all the good things we can do now. And believe me, as you know, and I spoke with clear indicators, all the good that we have actually been able to do in the past 2 years. Now, this requires lots of pain, I should admit, lots of worry, lots of anxiety, not only on my part, but on the part of all those who are around me. True. However, the focus of the Armenian people and any people and faithful people and so on should be on grace and on the opportunities and on the potentials, even in such disastrous times. I think there's much growth and much satisfaction and fulfillment in the things we can do when countries are failing, at war times, economic trouble times, emotional trouble times, and other times. So that's the way I look at it. Now, again, I don't want to idealize. Financially, things cannot continue this way in Lebanon. So, but then there are some solutions. One of the solutions is to be more imaginative and more creative in raising funds. Now, when I say raising funds, I'm speaking not about Haidostian alone now, but about, and not only about Lebanon, but about many Armenian communities. I think we have to be very creative and very focused on the best ways of raising, but also spending money. Not everything that made sense in terms of spending in the past will make sense now. What are the priorities? Like at the university, my priority at this point is payroll, is to help, the same I would say about the schools, Armenian schools in Lebanon, and the Armenian relief organizations or social or medical organizations. The focus should be helping people stay strong. And one of the ways of keeping them strong is helping them with their salaries that have lost any value and any meaning. 90% of the value is lost. So how much of it could be dollarized and how much money we could raise and so on. I think the priority should be to keep the dignity of our people strong and high, and part of it is financial, but not only part of it, on the part of the leadership of the communities in Lebanon and elsewhere. I think to be able to keep our posture, to keep our smile, to keep our vision, these play a role as well.
You know, you are projecting yourself so beautifully, so powerfully, so confidently. You are in a very noble profession. You're entrusted with the responsibility of molding the human mind and soul of a young generation, upcoming generation. It's a very, very responsible. And you also showed us the video. I hope the video could be more available to anybody who wants to know more about the Haigazian University, of the proud students wearing the t-shirts, wearing the bags, Haigazian University, and the comments they made, how Haigazian, what Haigazian means to them. You know, there is so much you are proud of, but I was very impressed by one thing, and we don't hear it in the Armenian world, and there was an image of HU Press. That's a very unique addition to any institution, and you were so proud to mention that. Tell us more about HU Press.
Right. Haigazian University had a major publication, annual publication, which is still called for the past 51 years now, the Haigazian Armenological Review. It's a 600, 700, 800 page research articles, original work published by us every year. However, during my first years as president, we were also printing a few other books, but I was envying the big universities around the globe with big endowments that had a university press. Who are we? A small institution, no funds or endowment for publications. Who are we to do that? So that was part of what I felt we should do. And we did. And 11 years ago, we were registered in Lebanon as Haigazian University Press. And since then, dozens of books, many dedicated to Armenian studies, have been published in Armenian, in Arabic, and in English as well. There's a long way to go for a university press to add prestige to what it does. But I'll tell you one reason why I think you and I have the right to feel proud of this. Much of the research work in Armenian studies that we do in Lebanon at Haigazian, including Haigazian Armenological, is done in Armenian and in Western Armenian. So the only issue for me, the value is not simply Armenian studies, but it is also the language in which you do some of the studies at least. Okay, now in the 21st century, you cannot do everything in Armenian. You shouldn't do everything in the Armenian language. We are part of global civilization. However, we know how valuable the language is. It's a core value in our identity. And we shouldn't forget this. And the warmth of our language will keep the identity warm as well. Okay, let me shift from, if you allow me, from Haigazian University to another very important, maybe symbolic, but another important issue in this. Now, why are we named Haigazian? Armenak Haigazian was a pastor, a professor, an academician, who is considered one of the most prominent victims of the Armenian genocide. So 101 years ago, in July 2021, we commemorated in Zizer Nagapert the 100th anniversary of his death. So our university has all these added missions. And one of them is to turn the story of pain, of martyrdom, of sacrifice, of dedication and all that, the price that was paid for all that, to turn it into giving, into educating, into promoting the values Haigazian and others stood for. So again, I'm not trying to create an emotional picture of it, but for me personally, this is absolutely critical. It's food for my daily work. To know that I am not only at a unique institution, but it's not an institution that's based on funds and money and all that, but it is really the commitment. And I'm, as you know, I'm also proud to say that the educational heritage of the Armenian Evangelical Church for 175 years and the commitment of the Armenian Missionary Association of America regarding these things have been unequivocally strong and true and powerful, and the commitment has been there. So to close the chapter on Haigazian University Press, yes, I mean, I don't easily ask for funds, but I would appreciate special donations to Haigazian University Press, because we have lots of projects, lots of books to be printed still. We have at least 4 or 5 books for 2022 and many more for 2023. So yes, it will be a critical part of the Armenian library.
You may be very surprised to know how many proud students of Haigazian, who graduates of Haigazian, are in our community in New Jersey. I wonder, how do you feel welcomed so warmly by a community, the Armenian Presbyterian Church? They went out of their way to prepare for your coming, and they also live streamed your presentation. And that was the first time they used the equipment. There was a lot of excitement you generated. And what is your way of not thanking them, but what is your impression of what you see here as a warm welcome, or wherever you go, really?
It is true. I mean, there are lots of personal stories which I will not share. I mean, I don't want to share lots of good things I hear here and there. But I think that the appreciation of the role Haigazian has played over these past 67 years has been immeasurable. Sometimes I feel we haven't done enough justice to what has happened in these years under difficult circumstances. And yet very positive things. People may forget, by the way, in the USA, that Haigazian is not simply this small Armenian college program. Haigazian is a competitive higher educational institution in the Middle East. Excuse me. So to feel the pride. By the way, this is in the Armenian community here in Los Angeles, in Canada, in different places, maybe. But I should add that it's so refreshing to see non-Armenian students in the Middle East who proudly go to places like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, present their CV, and they say they have studied at Haigazian, and they're not Armenian, but then they value what they received in terms of academic preparation and personal empowerment in the community. So it's a great honor to be received by all the communities. Yes, the Armenian Presbyterian Church very enthusiastically with the AMA prepared for the program on Saturday. I also had the opportunity to preach the Armenian and English sermons in church. Yes. Let me also personally add that it was nice to be back in New Jersey for a few days. I've spent more than 6 years in the state, so it was nice. I think any pride that is shared is multiplied in blessing in so many ways, really. And I do note that generally Armenians, whoever they are, of whatever background they feel the pride in an institution of that sort that not only opened in Lebanon, started in Lebanon, but accompanied the civil war and all the turmoils of Lebanon and still stood strong, thanks to God, of course, and all the supporters.
You know, talking to you for 20 minutes, half an hour is like the tip of an iceberg, and we don't see the submerged Paul Haidostian. We don't see the many, many other sides of Haidostian. You have a beautiful family, and you have 2 daughters. You are very well connected in Lebanese society. You are respected. You speak Armenian, perfect Armenian, English, Arabic, and there are other languages, but these are the 3 main ones. And somebody told me that his Arabic is perfect. Haidostian's Arabic is perfect. And you know how he picked up the Arabic? His father's sister, his aunt, would make him read a newspaper every single day. And that's how he picked it up. So there's a lot we don't know about you, and I hope very soon we'll connect once again. Բայց Isaac Dakira Pagelov, գուզեինք լսել մեկ խոսք, թե ինչ կթելատրեք, ինչ է ձեր թելատրանքը, ձեր խրադը, լավ առաջնորդիմը, որտեղ առաջնորդը մեծ դեր կգադարի, ինչպես որ նայինք Ուսման հավատքի ովի աշխատանքի առաջնորդը մեծ դեր կգադարի, ինչ է գլխավոր asset-ը, ինչ է գլխավոր ingredient-ը այս առաջնորդիմը։
Շնորհակալություն, ես պիտի ամեն բան առաջ ասեմ, առաջնորդիմը նվիրումը պետք է լա ամբողջական եւ ոչ պայմանավորված այս կամ այն նյութով։ Քաղաքական, տնտեսական, տրամական, անունի, պաշտոնի, բադիվի, անգելձորեն ասեմ ցեզի, անոնք կուքան եւ անոնք կան հետանան։ Նվիրումը ամբողջական պետք է լա, որու մեջը այո անձը բաժին ունի, բայց մեզ լսող առաջնորդը լսող եւ տեսնող եւ դիտող եւ մեր որոշումներուն այո եւ մեր կյանքի արժեվորումները տեսնող պետք է տեսնենք որ մենք ամբողջական նվիրումով կհավատանք մեր հրացին։ Օրը Princeton-ի օրերուս Նյու Յորքի հայավետարական եկեցին կարոզեի եւ կովի հոթելեմը հյուրանոցեմը օդար Հոլիվուդեն մեգա գար երևի մդերել եկեցի աղոտքի մամ դուրս ելավ ծերնվեցավ սա շատ լավ էր կարոզել սա հայերեն կարոզած էի սի ինչու հայերեն կիդու չէ սա ես I'm an actor սա տերասան եմ սա okay սի մեկ բան կիդեմ սա կարոզը դին լավ էր որովհետև տուն համոզված էի սա ես չեմ գիտեի չխոսեմ բայց համոզվեր եմ իրսել ամբողջական նվիրումը համոզումը առաջնորդի համար ամենեն կարևորն են ես պետք է ինքս քննեմ որ իմ նվիրումս ճիշտ ինչի է իմ անունիս է իմ ապակայիս է ինչին է իմ անկիստիս է ես ինձ համար անգշինեմ պետք է ինքս քննեմ այո ճիշտ է ես բավական քննադատված եմ եւ շատ ուրախությամբ կընդունիմ որ քննադատանք կա դարբեր դեղեր, բայց ես միշտ ինձ գսեմ ես նաև քրիստոնյա որպես հոյ, որ ես պետք չէ դարվիմ այս բոլորով, իմ հորս մասին քիչ առաջ հիշեցինք, հայրս շատ դյուրությամբ, բարձությամբ հովի վեր գսեր մորս քննադատողներեն շատ մի նեղվիր եւ քեզ կողողներուն շատ մի հավատար։ Թունքու կորձիտ նայ ու նվիրումդ դուր ասիրե ադիրե ինչ որ է պատկամները շատ են սիրելի բարոն Վարդան բայց վարմունքյունը երկար է շատ կորձ կա անելիք ես պիտի խնդրեմ մեր ունգընտիրներեն ագընտիրներեն որ չգետրոնացնեն իրենց վերլուծությունները դնդեսական քաղաքական դուրերուն վրա թե ոչ մեկ կորձ կրնան կնել ոչ միջին արևելյան մեր հայկական քաղաքներում մեջ ոչ Լիբանանում ոչ իսկ Հայաստանում եթե միան գետրոնացնենք անցուտ հարցերը ինչ եղան, ինչպես այո, պետք է իմաստունը լանք, սուրը լանք, Քրիստոսի խոսքերով օծի նման իմաստունը լանք, խորաման գլանք դերևս մեր ստրատեգին ունենք, ռազմավարությունը միաժամանակ մեր փարությամբ, ազնվությամբ, բարձությամբ մենք մեր գործը պիտի շարունակենք։ Գարձեք ամեն ինչ իդեալ է մեր շուրջը։ Գարձեք Լիբանան վերադառնան։ Գարձեք Լիբանան աշխարհի ամենն հանդարտ, ամենն հարուստ, ամենն խաղաղ, համերաշխ երկիրն է։ Այդպես պետք է գործենք, որովհետև ժողովուրդը անոր պետք ունի, ժողովուրդը վերլուծապաններու միան պետք չունի, ժողովուրդը պետք ունի նվիրումով, հավատքով, գործով, դեսլական ներկայացնող պատասխանատուներու առաջնորդներու եւ ես պատասխանատու գսեմ պայման չէ մեկը բարձրակույն պատասխանատուներու վրա ալը։ Նույնիսկ եթե այսօր հայկական դպրոցի մեջ մանկաբարձի ուսուցչուի մանն է մեկը, պետք է նույնը անենք։ Իմ հրածս իր գործեն ավելի կարևոր չէ։ Կբադահի որ այս պաշտոններ ունի, բայց ամեն մեկս ես ոչինչ է իմ հրած գործս Հայգազյանի մեջ, եթե հայկական դպրոցի մեջ ամեն մեկ ուսիչ եւ գիտեք երկու օր ետ ուսուցած դոնվի մեր դպրոցներու մեջ Բեյրութի մեջ։ Ուրեմն ողջունեմ բոլորը։ Ամեն մեկ իր թերը պիտի գադարե, եթե ոչ իմ բարձրակույն ուսման կամ այլ պատասխանատուներու մեջ իմ գադարածս անհեթեթ նույն պիտի, անիմաստ նույն պիտի։ Ամեն բարեկային, Աստծո փառք ու դամաս քեղեցիկ արիթին համար եւ ձեզ յալ շնորհակալ եմ։ Միշտ ձեր ուշադրությունը բարձր կբահեք Հայգազյանի վրա։
Մենք Աստծո փառք ու դան շնորհակալ ենք ձեր այս խոսքերուն, շնորհակալ ենք ձեր բարի օրինակին, ձեր բայցար միտքին եւ դժբախտաբար չեմ ուզել քաշքշել երկարել այս, գազմ գլխավոր գեդերը գաղորդի ժողովրդին եւ ժողովուրդը կներշնչվի ձեր խոսքերով, ձեր օրինակելի կյանքով։ Շատ շնորհակալ ենք Dr. Haidostian. Barrio.